How is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of Beared Down Uncut, where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. Should the Bears draft Zach Wilson, or should they possibly trade up for a guy like Justin Fields? Today, in episode number 95 of Uncut, we are going to be looking through the way too early situations that the Bears will have to draft a quarterback in the 2021 NFL Draft. Welcome back to the show, guys. We're going to get rolling with our Week 12 coverage starting tomorrow, Wednesday the 25th, and we're going to get all that stuff rolled out to you guys in time for the Bears' matchup on Sunday Night Football with the Green Bay Packers. But we're back today with another episode of Uncut, taking a way too early look at some quarterbacks that the Bears will presumably be looking to draft in 2021. I am your host, Chris Malpe, and today to talk about some young quarterbacks, the Bears looking once again to get their franchise guy. I am joined with both of my co-hosts, Parth and Jaylen McClinton. How's it going, guys?
Doing pretty good. Just had some Chipotle, so can't complain. And let's talk some Bears football.
Same here. We took a little break off for the bye week, so we're ready to talk some Bears football, prepare for Packers week.
Absolutely. Let's hop right into it. Taking a look at the quarterbacks that are going to be available for the Bears, presumably, in the 2021 NFL Draft. The guys that stand out, obviously, Trevor Lawrence. We're going to keep him off our list because we know he's going number one overall, and I doubt that whoever is the Bears GM at the time is going to pull a move to trade up for someone like that. But we've got Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Kyle Trask, and Mac Jones to talk about today. So let's start with Justin Fields. He's had a good 2020 season, the Big Ten, obviously only playing 8 games. He has 1,208 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a QBR of 93.7. That is the second best in FBS. Taking a look at presumably who will be the next guy, we've got Trey Lance. He only played 1 game in 2020, passed for 149 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But taking a look at his 2019 stats, he had quite the year. 66.9% completion percentage, 2,786 passing yards, also 9.7 yards per pass, 28 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions with a rating of 180.6. I'm not sure how the college rating system works, but yeah, that is what that is. Taking a look at the next guy, this guy's really popped off in 2020, Zach Wilson for the BYU Cougars. He has the 3rd most passing yards in the FBS, 2,724 to be exact. He's tied for 2nd in touchdowns with 26, only 2 interceptions, and a QBR of 87.9. That is 8th in FBS. Next up, we got some more realistic options for the Bears. Kyle Trask of the Florida Gators. What a year it has been for him down there. 2,554 passing yards, comes in at 5th in the FBS. The most passing touchdowns out of any college football quarterback with 31, 3 interceptions, and the 3rd best QBR for him with 93.6 rating. And then finally, a player who might fall a little bit lower but has been upping his stock recently for the Alabama Crimson Tide from Jacksonville, Florida. We've got Mac Jones. He has 2,426 passing yards, 18 touchdowns. It's tied for 10th, only 3 interceptions, and he has the best QBR in all of college football with 95.3. So, taking a look at these guys, Parth and Jaylen, we've done a little bit of work on them, haven't gotten too into it so far. Obviously, with how the Bears are trending right now, will we see Mitchell Trubisky start the rest of the season? It seems like that's going to be the case, but unless he probably wins a Super Bowl or at least wins a couple playoff games, it seems like he will not be back as the quarterback of the Bears. Ian Rappaport earlier this season said the team is ready to move on from him, and Nick Foles might stick around, play a mentor role, but we know he's not going to get it done. So, Parth, I want to start with you. Taking a look at those 5 guys I just mentioned, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Kyle Trask, and Mac Jones, which one of them stands out to you as a realistic option for the Bears?
I think Kyle Trask does. What he's done at Florida so far this year is incredible. Yes, Florida quarterbacks have been pretty bad in the recent years. Me and Chris were talking about it earlier before recording. Rex Grossman came from Florida, so has Tim Tebow. But, Kyle Trask is putting up great numbers. 31 touchdowns through 7 games, which is the highest through 7 games in college football history or records. He's playing better than Joe Burrow did, you could say, at this time of the year. And if he could keep it up, he's having a great season. Florida Gators can also start winning more games. I think they have 1 loss right now, but if they can make it to the playoffs, that will definitely improve his stock. But currently he's sitting right in the Bears' lap. I think the Bears are on the 18th pick, 18th pick, and I think he'll be a mid-first rounder.
Yeah, I got to go ahead and agree with you. I actually think Trask is going to end up being the guy if we're being completely honest. The way I rank these guys are Lawrence, Fields, Lance, Wilson, Trask, and Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones probably goes late first round, early second round, so that's an option if the Bears look to trade down. I also think Fields is going to be up there pretty high as well as Lance. Taking a look at Lance, I think he's kind of the oddball out here. He only played one game in 2020, as we know, and he's got raw potential, but he is coming from North Dakota State, somewhere we did see Carson Wentz come from, but we've seen how he's turned out recently. But, I do think Trask will be right there. Wilson is another one that intrigues me. Taking a look at all these guys, I think he's one of the ones that I didn't expect to be up there on the map. And then he really stepped up this year and ended up upping his draft stock. We saw other guys that we thought were going to be up there, like as Parth and I mentioned earlier, Sam Ellinger, Brock Purdy, and those guys have fallen off a little bit. And I think Zach Wilson has great footwork, great arm talent. He has success moving outside the pocket and in play action. He's also great. He has great playmaking ability and can improvise to extend play. So I like him a lot. But Trask is the one that stands out to me. I think he is great at working the whole field, spreading the ball to all of his targets. He throws his receivers open constantly, which not a lot of quarterbacks do, even in the National Football League. I think he has great discipline. He excels at throwing out of all platforms, and he can get the ball out fast. So that's something that's intriguing to me. We're obviously still in Week 12 of the 2020 season. We don't know how the rest of the season is going to spell out. But one thing that we do know is the Bears are probably going to be looking for a quarterback in 2020. And once again, I'll repeat it. I think Kyle Trask is going to be there right in the Bears' lap. He's had an incredible year. I think his stock might only continue to rise, but he is someone who I would like to see in Chicago. And we'll get into the other guys later with some possible trade up or trade down scenarios. But Jaylen, I'm going to pass it around to you now. You know the guys I just mentioned: Fields, Lance, Trask, Wilson, and Mac Jones. Who stands out to you as someone who the Bears could end up getting?
Well, realistically, probably like a Trask or maybe even a Mac Jones, but somebody I'm like really high on is Zach Wilson out of BYU. I think it is, yeah, BYU. He's been playing like amazing. A lot of Bears Twitter's been posting him like, every Saturday. Usually when he plays a game, I watched one of his games once versus Boise State, and he made this amazing run, amazing throw on the run, and it was a dot on the sideline, and it was a great catch by his receiver as well. So, I highly doubt the Bears stay at 16, which is where we currently rate the draft thing. Because due to us playing like the Houston Texans, we play the Jacksonville Jaguars in a couple weeks. We still play the Lions as well. So, if the Bears do, I don't hope for us to lose, but if we can find a way to get Zach Wilson, I'm gonna be ecstatic. He's good talent. I'm pretty sure he's gonna keep raising his stock by his play. He may go top 10. Who knows? But yeah, that's definitely somebody I've been very high on as a quarterback the Bears should look into if we do go quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, and there's also, Jaylen, you mentioned it, the Bears still do play the Houston Texans, who have struggled, the Detroit Lions, again, the Jacksonville Jaguars. None of these games are going to be given to the Bears, but we would assume that they're going to finish with around 8-9 wins unless something changes, possibly even less. I would probably put them at 7-8 at this point, and we'll see what happens to Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy because that plays a lot into this. But taking a look, there's some options for some guys who we could possibly trade up for. You assume Wilson might be out of reach, as well as someone like a Justin Fields, as well as someone like a Trey Lance. So, Parth, I want to pass it back around to you. If the Bears do end up trading up, obviously they're sitting at that 16 spot right now, right in the middle. Who would you want them to trade up for? Because there's been a lot of hype about Justin Fields. Trey Lance has a ton of raw potential, probably more than any of these guys. And Zach Wilson's also someone who Bears fans have raved about recently. So if the Bears do look to trade up, what do you think about that, and who would you look to aim for?
I think it's simple. You got to take Justin Fields if you're going to trade up. I think Justin Fields is a clear number 2 option in this draft, and clear. Some people thought he was the number 1 option. Trevor Lawrence has been great too, but I think Justin Fields has the number 1 option talent. He's got a great ball. He can run around. We saw him against Indiana last week. I know he struggled. He had 3 interceptions, which is the most he's thrown.
His only 3 on the season, too.
Yeah, 3 on the season. He had 3 all of last year, too. So that's just to take into account. Indiana's defense is really good. But Justin Fields is an awesome quarterback. I think he has all the keys to become a successful quarterback. He reminds me of Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. He's just like them. And I think he can easily make that next step that he needs to become that great quarterback.
Yeah, I think Justin Fields is also the guy you have to look to trade up for. But once again, I'd be cool with Zach Wilson. I think he's been incredible all season. I talked about him a little bit earlier. He's really shown out on the scene. He's a junior, 6'3", 210, has passed for the third most passing yards, also tied for second in touchdowns. I think he's been superb throughout the season, and I think he's someone that the Bears could look to trade up for and not give a ton up for. That is obviously if they sit around that 16 spot. I'm not really sure how it's going to play out, what other teams are ahead of them that are going to look for quarterbacks, but I would love to trade up for a guy like Zach Wilson. I think you'd have to give up a little bit more if you wanted Justin Fields. The thing that worries me the most about the Bears and where they're trending, if Ryan Pace stays in town, and it seems like he has endeared himself to the McCaskey family, so it seems like his job is a little bit safer than that of Matt Nagy, but if the team doesn't make the playoffs, we'll really have to see where it trends because the McCaskey family is apparently fed up with the state of the team. But if Pace does stay, I'm a little bit worried about trading up for Trey Lance. I don't essentially think it would be a bad pick, but I think you can make a safer pick without having to trade up. Trey Lance, I think, similar to Mitchell Trubisky coming into the league, was a boomer, but is going to be a boomer bust prospect. So that worries me a little bit. I would love to trade up for Fields or Zach Wilson. I'm fine with either of those guys, and I'm fine with Trey Lance too. I just don't want to give up too much if we were to move up and he was the guy. I mean, I trust whatever decisions this organization makes wholeheartedly, but that worries me a little bit. But if I had to choose one guy to trade up for, and I think it's going to be emulated here by Jaylen in a second, I would definitely go up for someone like a Zach Wilson. So, Jaylen, I'm going to pass it around to you. We heard Parth say Justin Fields. I lean the way of Zach Wilson. If the Bears were going to trade up in this draft, which is definitely realistic, knowing Ryan Pace, especially if he's in town in 2021, who do you think they should move up for?
I feel like this is a very deep quarterback class. We haven't got to say this since 2018, and we see a lot of those quarterbacks are excepting. So if it's not Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, the only real quarterback I would probably trade up for is Trevor Lawrence. He's probably the best quarterback prospect in a long time.
I think ever since Andrew Luck, probably.
Yeah, he's even going to be rated higher than Joe Burrow, who's an amazing quarterback. Praise up to him because he did tear his ACL, but he was considered one of the best prospects since Andrew Luck. So, if we do trade up, I would love to trade up for Trevor Lawrence, but I don't think the Jets are gonna even listen to offers for him. So, that was probably the only quarterback I would mainly trade up for if we were to trade up.
And God bless Trevor Lawrence's soul when he heads to the New York Jets. But there's been a lot of conversation recently on Bears Twitter, on Bears social media, about the discrepancy between Kyle Trask and Mac Jones. Both guys playing very well. We've seen Trask be consistent throughout the season, and we've seen Mac Jones really pick up the play recently for the Alabama Crimson Tide. So if the Bears sit where they are right now, assuming that they're going to stay anywhere between 10 to 18, it seems like they'll be picking around the middle of the pack, assumably where someone like a Trask will fall, and possibly even where guys like Trey Lance and Zach Wilson will fall. Would you rather sit and wait on a guy like Trask and hope that he falls to you, or would you possibly consider trading back for Mac Jones and possibly recuperating some more late-round picks? Because, obviously, if Ryan Pace is in town, he's been someone who's nailed late-round draft picks in the past. So, Parth, would you rather sit where you are and grab a guy like a Kyle Trask, like maybe even a Zach Wilson, like maybe even a Trey Lance, depending on how this season ends, and it seems like it's unfolding poorly, or would you consider trading back for someone like Mac Jones?
I'm not going to trade back if I'm going to be completely honest. I know you're quite high on Mac Jones, but I'm not. He's playing in Alabama. That system's amazing. He's got the best offensive lineman in the country. He's got the best running back next to him. He's got the best wide receivers. The recruitment there is amazing. I think he's got a lot of talent around him that makes him play really well. And it's not a knock on Mac Jones. I think he's still a great quarterback. I just don't think he's a great fit in Chicago. So if we want to, I would rather just stay put and, look to get Lance or Trask or Fields or
Wilson. Yeah. I'm actually going to go ahead and agree with you. I think the right choice here is just to stay put where you are, see how the draft board plays out. Jaylen mentioned it. I think this is a really deep group. I think there's great options across the board. I think a lot of these guys are going to show out to be successful once they do enter the league. I'm hoping that where the Bears are sitting, they're going to have a choice between hopefully Zach Wilson and Kyle Trask. I don't know how realistic that is. It seems like Mac Jones is going to be a little bit further back based on what I've read, though. So, Jaylen, I'm going to pass it back around to you. Do you think the Bears, if they have that mid-round pick, 10 through 18, as I said earlier, do you think they should sit where they are and choose someone there? or possibly trade back, try and get some more picks and take someone like a Mac Jones?
Before I answer this question, you think we're going to have the 10th pick? Oh, my. That's a complete
I mean, if we keep losing.
fail of a season if we go from 5-1 to the 10th pick in the NFL draft. But I'm not.
And I don't think we'll see Pace and Nagy in Chicago if that happens.
Definitely, and even if the season keeps falling, I still think they stay, for at least one season. But if I'm the Bears, I stay put. I don't trade up. This is our first time having a first round pick, in 2018, and if we could have drafted offensive linemen with that first round pick this year, or some pass rushers and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna trade back. I'm gonna stay put where I am, get the best quarterback on our board available, especially if we're confident in him. So. I know this is football, but do what the Bulls did. They couldn't find a trade down partner, so they took their player that they believed in. Even if it would have been considered a reach. Don't draft a quarterback just because you feel like that's the best player on the board. Draft him because you're confident in him and stuff like that. So if I'm Pace or Nag or whoever is here next year, I'm staying put.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that. Finally, one more question before we close this one out. Obviously, we know with the Bears there's going to be a ton of focus on positions amongst the offense this offseason, most notably, in my mind, offensive line and wide receiver. I got to be honest, I don't think Allen Robinson returns to the Bears unless he gets franchise tagged. So there's going to be a lot of focus put on other positions in free agency as well as in the draft. So, Parth, I want to pass this around to you. Outside of the quarterback position, which positions do you think the Bears need to put an emphasis on, need to focus on this offseason the most?
Offensive line, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the obvious answer. I think
answer,
I would hope that, Ryan Pace is someone who throughout time has committed a ton of equity into the defense, and it's been a good defense, but part of the reason is because he's paying these guys so much. I think, honestly, depending on how this offseason spills out, if Pace is gone, we could see guys like Akeem Hicks and Kyle Fuller possibly on the trade block to get rid of some money. I don't want to say Khalil Mack's going to get traded. He's getting paid a ton. We've seen Robert Quinn undersucceed so far, to say the least. Leonard Floyd has 8 sacks, and Robert Quinn has 1 and a forced fumble. So I think offensive line is where you have to look to add a piece. I think my ideal plan for the Bears in 2021 would be to focus on offensive linemen more so in free agency, and then hopefully take quarterback, wide receiver with your first 2 picks in the NFL draft. Obviously, this can all get affected by how the season plays out, but I think that's ideally how I would put an emphasis on it. Probably, obviously, quarterback, I think that would be their first round pick, and then some combination of offensive linemen and wide receiver throughout free agency and the rest of the draft. I think that's definitely the way to go. So, Jaylen, before we close this one out, what positions do you think the Bears need to put an emphasis on this offseason outside of the quarterback position?
I also think it's very, very obvious. It has to be the offensive line. We haven't really seen a full potential of this offense. Maybe the first couple weeks when we started off 3-0, but after that, it's been going down ever since. We lost James.
It's continued to fizzle out. Yeah,
we lost James Daniels. We lost Tariq Cohen. That's obviously been a very huge loss for our defense. He's like a security blanket for the quarterback. So with him not on the field, his production, even though it was down last year, this is a worse offense than last year, and I didn't think we could get much worse from last year. So Tariq Cohen has obviously been a very huge loss for this offense, as well as James Daniels. Like I said before, we saw Cody Whitehair go out for a couple of weeks. Bobby Massey's probably going to be out for the rest of the season. So if it has to be offensive line, Nagy and Pace, they have to, completely do an overhaul like they did this year for tight ends. Do an overhaul for offensive linemen if we want to see a competent offense.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, to see who's available 2021 on the offensive line. It's not a position that's cheap to fill. There are going to be a lot of options. Kevin Beacham is someone who's still out there. Ronnie Staley hasn't gotten re-signed yet. Russell Okung, Jermaine Fetty, and Jason Spriggs are both going to be out there for the Bears. DeMar Dotson, Elijah Wilkinson. There's a lot of interesting names out there, and I didn't even mention guys like Cameron Fleming as well as Alejandro Villanueva. So it should be interesting, and we're talking about this way too early. By the way, we're going to be making a ton of more videos on the 2021 NFL Draft. Just wanted to get something out there early, just giving our thoughts on some of the prospects. So thank you guys so much for tuning into episode number 95 of Uncut. If you want more content from us, head over to our website, bearddown.com. We're posting columns, articles, and blogs every day this week to get you guys ready for the Bears' Week 12 matchup with the Green Bay Packers. If you would like to find us on social media, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Beared Down. We're announcing a giveaway on there very soon. We're going to give away a jersey, so it's going to be free to enter. Be sure to check out our socials for the way to enter. We're trying to give back to you guys each and every month. And finally, you can find the links to all of our social media, Instagram and Twitter, down in the description. Parth, Jaylen McClinton, it's reaching wintertime in Chicago. Just snowed out here today for the first time since I've been back. I feel like in the blink of an eye, the NFL draft will be around. So any last words?
Yeah, it's already week 12. Like you said, the NFL season goes by really quickly. The Bears are 5-5. Hopefully things can go right this weekend. If not, then I think it's time to tank. But yeah, so let's hopefully we can beat the Packers because I don't want to lose this one.
Bear down. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, that'll pretty much do it for us, guys. We'll kick off our Week 12 coverage tomorrow. I know I said it was coming today, but had a little bit of a recording issue, so Wednesday the 25th, we'll kick it off. Bears versus Packers coverage, and obviously we're going to keep an eye on that 2021 NFL Draft moving down the road. It's been a pleasure to be your host. Once again, my name is Chris Maltby. Bears fans, as always, do us a favor and stay safe and bear down. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.